Hey guys, this is Keita Bussey, Grant Chancellor Madison, and Mike Seifert here with the 180 Firearms Training Podcast, Episode 2, Match Etiquette. Now, before we dive into match etiquette, I do want to mention I'm publishing a shooter's training log. It goes hand in hand with my Train Smart class. I published it last night. It's not live for purchase yet. I have to get my proof so I can check it over, make sure it's right, and then it will be available to purchase for students taking the Train Smart class. Once the Train Smart book is out, this training log is going to accompany it. So it's called the Train Smart Shooter's Log. Lots of interesting stuff in there. All right, match etiquette. There are a lot of things that happen at a match that can slow it down, can be irritating. You know, it's already sort of a high stress environment, but we're all trying to have fun at the same time and find that balance. So what are some things you guys have seen that you didn't feel was proper etiquette at a match?
I'm gonna let you start on that one, Grant. Go ahead.
Okay. We had a list and I've forgotten about it.
Well, let's talk about picking up brass because it is different in South Africa.
Let's do the brass thing first. Right. So obviously over there, you know, you guys don't actually pick up brass. Apparently you guys wait until the end of the match. So here, everyone basically marks their brass. I color in the primers with a blue Sharpie. A lot of guys will do a cross over it or an X in different colors. A lot of guys have that double alpha marking machine. So as it runs out of your 650 or 750, it'll actually do a mark on the brass itself. So yes, when a competitor's finished shooting, when everyone's resetting the stage, there'll be someone who'll pick up the brass that the competitor just shot and give it to the competitor, and that's basically how we've always run it. And if the competitor doesn't have all their brass, they'll pretty much after the next shooter, they're not pasting or resetting, they're picking up brass to try and find that. Now we obviously do reload. We run out of brass here quite a lot. Brass is kind of hard to come by, especially if you're shooting 40 or especially 38 super comp. People will literally open a 100-round Dillon ammo box, take ammo, load their mags, and when they're done, they will put the empty brass in those slots, unload all the mags into those slots, see, oh, I'm missing two, and scour the area for those two pieces of brass.
Wow.
This was crazy to me when I was there.
That's insane.
People kept coming up to me and handing me my brass after I was done shooting. I was like,
you keep it.
Thanks.
Yeah, right.
I had no idea what was going on.
Wow.
Yeah,
so I mean, like, what is the cost of your brass then? Is it super, like, is it 50 cents for one cartridge? I mean, like, what is why so serious about the brass? I mean, doesn't that slow it down?
9 mil is about 9 US cents.
9
for
cents.
Good once fired brass if you find it. 40, you're looking at about 45 US cents. I could be wrong on that. I'm trying to like
for 40
in my head.
Keep in mind, what is the ratio of Rand to US dollars?
Oh, it's like 80 cents, 80 US cents for a Rand, or 8 cents or something. It's really, I know it's 1470 rands
is
for $1.
Got it.
So we're importing that. It's import tax, and it's I use Starline brass for my match competition brass, and I want that back. I mean, I'm not.
Yeah, hold on. Let's start that again. So it's 17 Rand or is it 17 Rand or 14 Rand for $1?
14 Rand 70 for $1.
How much is it for one piece of brass that you said? Is that in Rand or is that
9 cents?
9 cents.
90 South Africa cents. 90 South Africa cents.
Got it. Okay. All right.
So it's almost, that would be like us paying just under $1 per piece of brass.
So I get it then. That kind of I don't think it's that much, but it's still pretty pricey. I mean, that's not super cheap. I mean, I'm loading an entire round for a fraction of what you're paying for the brass almost.
You know, right? I'm loading 40 for about 2 Rand 50 a round in that area.
Wow. Wow.
So that is, what is it, 20 cents? Yeah, I wish I was better at math.
That's crazy. Yeah, no, in the US, I've never really seen it. They actually announce it at most matches that it's going to be a lost brass match because they don't want the competitors to stop after you're done shooting and pick everything up because it's going to slow everything down. So what usually happens is the people that are either working a major or, people will, like Keita was saying before we started this, would stay after and they would pick up all the brass and keep it clean. And then if it's a major, they share it between themselves. And if it's, whoever wants to stay after and pick up all the brass after a match is, then they could keep it at a local. But yeah, past that, we would never after a stage. I mean, when you're shooting, I want to keep shooting. I don't want to stop and pick up brass. You know what I'm saying? So yeah,
something interesting. I saw something really interesting in New Zealand. So these guys, I like better in South Africa how they pick up the brass as they go. It kind of keeps things moving along. And it's usually if you just shot, you're picking up brass for the guy shooting, right?
Yeah.
Right. So there's a designated one person, so everyone else can be resetting. In New Zealand, what they do, in theory, is after the match is done, everybody stays after and picks up all of the brass together. And then they have a sorting table. So they're there for like another hour picking up brass and another hour and a half or so sorting through all this brass, putting it into piles so they get their own brass back.
That's crazy.
Are we talking about indoor matches or outdoor matches? Indoor matches, we pick up the brass at every indoor match. We sweep it into a pile, and then we do have sorters. It doesn't take that long. But at an outdoor match, if you're picking it up in like gravel, I feel like that would take.
We had soft moonscape sand that we're picking up brass from the match today.
So it's getting clean. It's nice.
Well, yeah, we got to clean it and wash it. Like I tumble it twice just to get that stuff out. Yeah. Nothing breaks pins faster than sand stuck in primers. But yeah, so there is a story of at least one guy, and I don't know the name, of someone who ran around with a brass bag on their shooting belt. Because having the brass and picking up brass is more important than having this extra weight of brass as you run around a match.
No way. See, now if that's your mindset, then you shouldn't be shooting, in my opinion. Yeah. If you're so weird about, every little piece of brass or every single cent, I mean, you should be focused on what you're doing. I mean, I'm okay if we're going to be picking it up after we're all done shooting, but yeah, to stop at any point in the middle of a match, I mean, I'm trying to stay focused. So it seems weird to me, but
yeah, I like to get most of it, but like I'm not going to sit there and count. So I'll get about 90% of my brass back. So I'm constantly losing, constantly having to replace. And it is expensive, but the way I see it, it's a match. I'd rather focus on the more important things than getting brass back. I'd like to get most of it, but I'm not going to sit there and count. Guys do. That's their prerogative. They're happy.
Yeah, I get it though. I mean, if that's what everybody's doing around you, I mean, that's, I'd probably be doing the same thing too. It's just, what we do around it, we don't do that.
It's cultural.
Yeah. So
yeah, and 40 brass is really, really hard to find, and 38 super is even worse. So
yeah, well, so those are the only guys that you ever really see picking brass up around a range, are the 38 super guys. Those are the ones that you'll see just kind of walking around like, hey, let me get that one. You shoot an open gun, don't you? Like, yep, there it is. So, but past that, everybody else shooting 9 really doesn't matter. I mean, I'm getting 6,000 cleaned rounds for like $160, which I'm not going to do the calculation I ran, but that was pre-COVID. Now it's like 260, so it's not too bad still, but. Yeah.
The nicest thing to do is, okay, so we do have some military and police guys who do come shoot, and they'll shoot burden primed military 9mm ammo, and they don't pick up their brass. And when you have those guys, it's kind of funny when you have to sort through, and all them brass is specifically marked for in case it gets stolen or whatever. You see, oh, this brass has got the P on it. I have to throw that out. It's actually, and one of those can break.
You can't even use it.
Yeah.
It's burden prime. It's got the 2 flash holes. It's not, you can't actually reload it. Those guys are happy to leave their brass, so it's nice of them.
Interesting. Yeah, no, we could have a whole show on reloading, because I mean, guys could talk about brass.
That's on the list.
Yeah. So
what about stage planning? When you're walking the stages in a match and people are coming up to you saying, hey, what's your plan? Or how should I shoot this stage? What do you think about that?
I'd like to start on. I mean, to me, that doesn't bother me at all. I'm down to share really kind of whatever, depending on who you are. I mean, like if you're one of the top level guys, like I feel like, you know, we're sort of direct competition, but I'm usually willing to help anybody out because I always feel like I don't really care if you have my stage plan. I'm still gonna, in my head, I'm gonna shoot it better than you are. So, you know, I'll let you know what I'm gonna do and let's see if you can execute it better than I can, because I'm always willing to bet on myself. But, you know, kind of a funny thing on stage, we're talking about stage planning, right? Well, I was going to more go with stage walkthroughs, but I guess that's all I really have for planning. So Grant, what do you got on planning?
Okay, well, if our stage plans are exactly the same, then by all means, share your stage plan when I'm on deck with me. The problem is though, when you're on standby and you're trying to visualize, you don't want someone coming up and saying, hey, maybe we should shoot it this way, because you're trying to put that in your mind. Okay. And then you're just gonna, mess yourself up.
All right. So yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, I know a couple people that are, they don't want you to talk to them at all when you're in the box. And I don't personally care. You can come up and like, as I'm standing there right before the guy says, make ready, if you want to give me a pound as you're walking by, like, it doesn't bother me whatsoever. So yeah, I guess it depends on the shooter. Some people are a little bit more serious about it than others. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, especially if the match isn't going your way. You really don't want someone to mess up the next stage plan. Kind of thing.
Now, this is something the top guys will do to actually mess with each other. So one thing they'll do is fake a stage plan during the walkthrough that's not their actual stage plan, because they don't want other people to see something they saw that's different. Another thing they'll do is tell someone they're going to do something and say, yeah, you should do this. And then they do something totally different. Like they use stage plans to get in each other's heads.
I don't know if I've ever seen that. I mean, like, so I've talked with somebody about a stage and then like watched a couple people shoot it and been like, hey, I think I'm going to modify this position right here. But like, and then maybe not have said something to the person I might've been talking to before when we were doing our plan.
Oh yeah,
like,
I've done that too.
I've never like on purpose, like, hey, I'm going to go do this and then do it completely opposite just to screw with somebody. Like, that's bad gamesmanship. I mean, I like to win, but that's another level. So
yeah, they do that, but I think they also kind of do it in good fun.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always down for a joke, like, hey, like if you got to shoot something through a barrel or something like that, and then it's like a star. Like I've had that before. Like yeah, no, you should definitely do that from the back line, or something like that. Like definitely don't run up and shoot it through there, like. But obviously nothing serious. Like
right.
That's messed up. Grant, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I do like discussing stage plans with everyone, because people see things that you don't necessarily see, so they might have a better way of shooting it that kind of opens your mind. So definitely discuss the stage plan with them. If you think you have a awesome, killer stage plan that's just sitting there waiting to save you 5 seconds, then okay, fine. If you want to keep it to yourself, then maybe just say, oh yeah, that's an awesome stage plan. One of the worst things and one of the sabotagiest things you can do to someone when they're on the line is tap them on the shoulder and say, don't miss that steal, or be careful of that no shoot over there. Don't do that. That's not cool. Unless you're legitimately trying to sabotage someone, no.
So that's for us, that's normal local level ball busting at a match. We do that all the time.
Local level. Would you do it at nationals or at
Absolutely
a world shoot?
not. No. So that's where hopefully we're going to talk today something about a difference between like a level 1 and a major. Because at a level 1, for me, it's very much fun. And that's where I hope we can also talk about people that only shoot level 1s and don't want to shoot majors, and why majors are so much better. I used to only shoot level 1s and I thought they were serious, but yeah, it depends on the match for sure. If it's majors, no, absolutely not. And normally you're shooting when you go to majors. Normally, if you get around, at least some people that are there, and usually you're squatted with people that so that you usually shoot with on a regular basis even. And when you're at a local, it's okay to joke around with your buddies like that. And nobody really cares that much unless there's, I find newer people are a little bit more serious about it. And so I usually don't really try to mess with them, because that is kind of like their major if they haven't ever been to one yet. But yeah, definitely when the time comes to actually, it's a big match, don't mess with anybody. I mean, you always want to be supportive, but there's no like, hey, shoot that from the back line. It's always, hey, do the best job that you can. And yeah.
So general consensus is totally fine to come up and ask for a stage plan, the whole thing.
Doesn't bother me.
All right.
Are you,
I know some people it does.
First, are you on the line,
That's true too. We'll get to that. So what about getting
Agreed.
video?
Which aspect? Having somebody video for you, or
asking someone to get video for you.
Oh, so I'm bad with this. I find one person that's good at it, and then I usually ask them to do it all day, and I feel bad. But like, it's honestly a special skill. When people ask me to video, I feel honored. And it's like I almost take it more seriously than shooting, because I'm like, I don't want to blow the video for this person. Like, you know, I've had people do that to me where they're like, they take the camera and then they start talking to somebody, and all of a sudden you go to watch your video and it's like you're 3/4 of the way done with your run. And I like my match videos. I post videos online all the time, but at the end of the day, I use all of my videos to really analyze what I'm doing around a stage. So like, you know, if somebody says, yeah, I'll take the camera and I shoot it for you, and then they miss it, it's kind of like, God, yeah, it sucks a little bit. So yeah, when I ask, because I don't mind doing it for other people. So I will always reciprocate the fact. So I don't mind saying, hey, do you mind videoing the stage every time? Because if you want to hand me your camera and I'll video for you every run also, like, you know, no problem with that whatsoever. So yeah.
Yeah. And I think doing that before the match starts is a good approach, where you can ask your squad as you're waiting for everyone to get there or whatever, or waiting for the RO, just say, hey, does anyone in the group need video? I'd be willing to video you if you'll video me. And I think that's totally fine. How about you, Grant?
Hopefully as well, you get they read the list of people that are shooting and where and when, so you can find someone who's kind of far away from you. You can ask them. Hopefully you know the people that are there. I also hate asking at major matches for people to video me, because everyone's kind of doing their own thing in the game. You don't want to be the guy that, hey, can you video me? And they basically blame you for messing up their stage.
That's kind of a weak cop out. That's a weak cop out.
Well, whether it's legitimate or not, I mean, you still don't want to have that on your shoulders. But actually, at major matches, it's more important to have your stages videoed in case something goes wrong or you need to arbitrate something. You need that on video, so you have to get someone to video it.
I guess, I mean, that seems like the villain side of videos. And like, I'm never videoing any of my runs to potentially arbitrate or argue a call later, because in USPSA you can't use video review. So even if it just happened and they make a judgment call and you say, hey, here's the video, they say, well, that's nice, but it is what it is. So yeah, I've never actually had that for that particular purpose. But
yeah, whenever someone asks me to video them, I kind of see, okay, well, where's the 90 traps, and kind of make sure that I can get an angle on where their gun is on that. That's kind of how I think of when I video someone.
Oh, so when you're videoing somebody, you're trying to make sure that you get their feet in, so that you get the foot faults and all that. I'm trying to get their feet in so they can see their footwork. So you're you're thinking about the negatives, Grant. You got to be more positive.
Well, I mean, in case something does happen, they're going to be very happy about that video. But that's basically how I.
Can you go to video review in IPSC? Is that something that so for I guess Keita, and USPSA for arbitration. So if you went to arbitration, would you be able to submit a video that potentially would get something overturned for like a foot fault call or something like that, if it was clearly
No, you can't submit a video. But what I would do is watch it for my own purposes, so I know what I did. So if they say one thing and I'm thinking I did something else, maybe I did, maybe I didn't, but I can look at the video and know for myself, oh yeah, I screwed that up, or no, maybe I didn't, and it was a bad call.
What happens,
but then
what happens if you got called on a foot fault and you clearly saw it wasn't a football? You're going to watch that video a million times and get more angry every time. So I would say match etiquette would be, as the videographer, make sure if that is the call and you know that it wasn't a foot fault, cut that out before you give the camera back. Just do a little edit.
Well, what I would do then is, now I'm going to be setting up positional drills and practicing getting in position, looking at my spot where I'm going, and then getting eyes up to target without having a foot fault. So that gives me a training direction.
Yeah, it's mostly about the training. Where if I did break the 90, how and why and what was I doing, so you can correct that.
Right.
You call them 90s. I like that. I mean,
yeah,
they are 90s technically.
Yeah. So I've done it at nationals, depending who I'm squatted with. If they're newer shooters and it's all of their first nationals, I'm not going to ask any of them to video me. If it's someone I know and I know they're going to be cool with it, then I will. But sometimes I'll wait till after the first stage so they get rid of their first stage jitters. But if they have a significant other with them, sometimes I'll ask them to get my first stage and then ask, a teammate.
Yeah.
So what about going up and talking to people during a match?
I'm a big.
If they're on the line, ask them if they're on the line. Just ask them, are you shooting? Where are you shooting, man? Because that will save a lot of like you feeling bad because now you've just disrupted someone while they were trying to visualize. And I don't like to like say, oh, I'm on the line, or shout at people, or just be a terrible person and just walk away from them. But on occasion you kind of have to, because you don't want to get someone in your head and get distracted when, especially if it's like a 32 round technical stage or memory stage. That could be the worst, when someone's trying to talk to you and you just want to focus on the task at hand.
Yeah,
What you Mike?
I kind of agree with that a little bit, but I'm more of a big offender, I would say, because I don't mind when people talk to me. So, like if you watch I have an Area 8 video on YouTube. So like right before I'm about to shoot the stage, yelling at the guy that's doing my videos, we shoot together all the time. He comes up and he goes, "I hope you got bullets in that magazine." And that's like probably 5-6 seconds before the guy says, "All right, make ready." It's like, but that kind of thing doesn't bother me like whatsoever. So I tend to talk to people, I guess, maybe at inappropriate times. I try to stay away. Like if I see that you're walking up and I know that you're walking up, but there's a lot of times that I barely know where I am in the order until the last stage of the day. So at the end of the day, there's a lot of people that I'm like, I didn't even know that you were coming up. I apologize for talking to you right before. So I don't know. I like matches. I like to be social. I really love shooting. So when I'm out there, I'm usually pretty vocal because it's just something I'm having fun doing. So I want to apologize now to anybody if I'm talking and I'm bothering you. I'm just having a good time. That's all. So, yeah.
Well, I like the gesture when someone comes up to you because they want to talk to you, and first they say, "Oh, hey, are you on deck?" And yes or no, and they say, "Okay, cool." And then I wanted to ask you this.
Yeah, I always respond to that. I always respond to that one. What do you have to say? Like, don't leave me hanging, because now I'm going to go up to the stage thinking about what you're going to ask me. Like, just ask me what you're going to ask me so I can answer it, and then I'll go shoot my stage.
Oh, I mean, I felt bad because I have done it. We've all done it, I'm assuming, because we've all been new. And I've gone to someone. I was like, "What do you think about engaging the swinger sequence this way?" It was a really complicated sequence, and then he's like, "Oh shit, I'm shooting now," and I was like, "Okay, sorry." And then he messed it up, and I felt like I'd done that. I felt bad. So that you only do that once, kind of thing. And then
I got a pretty interesting story about match etiquette when it comes to talking to people after they get DQ'd. I was a very new shooter, and one of my first big 3-gun matches that I was shooting back when I did that. And Jimmy Woodford, Keita?
No.
No, so he's a sponsored shooter out of Ohio. He's a good guy, really good shooter, and he gets DQ'd. It's like the first time he's been DQ'd. He's like, "Man, I haven't been DQ'd in like 5 years." Like, all right, like, man, that sucks. And I'm like, I'm starving, so I'm like, all right, hey, you're just sitting there. Do you want to run out and get us you want to go get us some food as a squad? First, yeah. So don't be that guy. And to boot, it was with Jimmy Woodford. So yeah. I come to find out later, I'm going around and talking. I know all the staff at the match I'm shooting at, and they're like, "Oh man, Jimmy, you're going to shoot with Jimmy Woodford. He's a pro." I'm like, "Oh God, like I feel like such an ass right now." But yeah,
man.
So don't be the guy to ask the guy that just got DQ'd if he wants to run out for some food. That's not something that's proper. So yeah, no, I've learned my lesson a few times the hard way. But yeah, at the end of the day, it is what it is. New people are going to do what they're going to do. So I don't really judge anybody. I don't judge anybody when they're new to ask questions like that, because I did the same thing. So who am I?
I think a lot of people, when they don't want to be approached for whatever reason at a match, just kind of walk off by themselves and face away from the group if they're visualizing, or maybe something in their life is going on that you don't know about. It could be really anything, but you need to read people's body language and be cognizant of that, and don't just go and talk to someone and be hurt if they're focused or doing something else. Just remember that it's a stressful situation for some people and they feel a lot of pressure, and you just never know where they're at. So just don't be offended.
I agree. Well, if you shoot for any amount of time, you get to know who those people are, right? So, I mean, there's people that that you're going to be able to hang out and talk to, and there's people that are going to be more serious. And the more major matches you go to, And that's why I say locals, you don't really get to see, because for me, I'm much more serious when I'm at a major. But I'm still willing to talk to people. But I mean, at a local, I mean, it's just the whole time is just having fun. So it's, you know, when you get to go around and you get to see the people and you shoot with everybody, you get to see what everybody's attitude is kind of like, and then you kind of find your clique. You know, if you like to be more serious, you get to kind of hang out with the more serious people. If you like to have a little bit more fun, you get to hang out with the people that don't really mind about talking and making jokes with each other throughout the day. So
yeah, but the key is it's not anything personal. Just read their body language and be respectful, and don't take it to heart.
If you walk up to someone and start talking to them and they walk away from you and you're at a match, there's something going on. They're on deck or something and you didn't hear it. It's fine. Don't take it personally. Offer them a drink after the match. I'm sure they'll take you up on it.
I guess if I didn't know you were about to shoot, I said, "Hey, Grant, how you doing?" And you just walked away from me and you say, "I'm good. How are you?" And before, like, I'd be like, you know, that guy's kind of a dick. You know, I don't know. I feel like you should, if somebody asked me, said something to me, even no matter what I'm doing, if it was like, all right, make ready. I'm in the middle of make ready. Like, hey, Mike, have a good run. Like, hey, thanks. Like, click my mag in. Like, let's get it going. Like, I don't know. Just it doesn't affect me whatsoever. I'm just different though. I know. I do know. It just depends on how you are, you know. And
I think that depends on your experience level as well. Like I'm usually comfortable enough with my stage plans that I can be resetting when I'm on deck, and it's fine. But other people have to get really focused.
Now at a major, would you do like, at a major, I definitely would at least take the, you know,
I have
maybe even in the hole if it's a stage I'm not really sure about. But Pat, you know, at a local, I could really care less. I mean, I get a plan and I'm just there to kind of work on the stuff that I'm you know, not really good at. So
at a major, usually when I'm in the hole, I start focusing. It depends on the size of the squad too. Like I had a really small squad at a major match recently, and we had to frantically be pasting targets to get through it. So I would go up and paste like one target while I was on deck.
No, that's a valid point. I mean, if you have 15 people in your squad, you know, there's only so many targets out there anyway. And I mean, you know, you have more than enough room that you can kind of hang back. But if you do have 6 people, I would say it would definitely be a little bit of bad form if you know, weren't doing something, because you got somebody running, you know, at a local match, especially where you don't have a crew of ROs. If you've got a 6 to 8 person squad, or especially a 6 person squad, you got somebody running it, you got somebody doing the pad, you know, then you got the person on deck, you got the person shooting, that leaves 2 people to reset. So, you know, you gotta.
And the person who just shot is loading their mags.
Right. Yeah. Right.
So that's one.
So yeah, even that could be a modification. Maybe you don't load your magazines until you're all done with the stage and you're on your way to the next one. You know, maybe something like that. But yeah, whatever it is though, as long as you keep the same pace going throughout the stages, that's all that really matters to me. I don't care if we're gonna be slow for the whole day. Let's be slow. But I don't want to get on a roll where we're blowing through stages and I'm like, you know, I'm really getting into it, and all of a sudden we hit like a 2-hour slowdown. So yeah, it's
you don't want to be the guy who's not resetting. And I'll see guys walk off and take phone calls, and they'll be missing for up until they're on deck. And then all of a sudden they show up magically.
There is a unsportsmanlike rule, which not resetting it has been used here, where they were DQ'd for unsportsmanlike behavior because they were not resetting.
Oh, DQ'd, not a penalty? Is it a penalty in USPSA?
That's
you can get DQ'd for unsportsmanlike
same with USPSA.
behavior.
Wow. Interesting. Yeah, no, I mean, I will admit I haven't been the best squad mate over the last years. I hate pacing with a passion. I'll admit that. I will always run the tablet, or, you know, now that I'm the RO, I usually like to take the timer, because then I feel like I'm doing something for the squad, because when it comes to actually putting pacers on the target, I suck. So I just actually bought one of those pasting guns, which is honestly one of the greatest things in the world. So now
So let's talk about the super squad resetting. I know they get ragged on all the time in the US for not resetting, but people don't really understand their plight. There's more to it than just resetting the targets. Grant, what do you have to say about that?
Well, I mean, you're in the super squad. You are trying to basically place first. You're trying to win the match, win your division. There is a ton of pressure in the super squad. Sometimes you just need a little bit of extra time to get your stage in your head and just get your head right, especially when You know, you've just watched your main competitor burn the stage down, you know, unattainable time that you think, yeah, that's tough. So, and also I have also done that where I've walked away when someone shot, just completely walked away because I actually don't want to see them shoot that stage because I don't want it to mess me up mentally. So I've left, gone away, found someone to talk to, had a conversation for a couple minutes, and then I've come back and then, okay, well, everyone's reset everything and now the next shooter's up. And then I'm on, well, not on deck, but like second in line.
In the
and
hole.
I'm not gonna, okay, in the hole. And I'm not gonna reset the stage when I'm second in line. So I have done that. There, yeah, it's the pressure thing and there's a lot going on. So I can kind of understand it in a way.
Also related to the pressure, if you crash and burn on a stage, you need to take a minute for yourself and reset.
10.
Yeah, or 10. I mean, look, I crash and burn on a lot of stages. Let's put it that way. But to me, a crash and a burn is just not shooting what you thought you were going to shoot, right? So if you're going to crash and burn, I had a really hard time with this at first, but I feel like my mental game is coming around a little bit, especially at majors. If it happens, it's over. You can't do anything to take it back. So I mean, it is what it is. You need to get focused on your next stage, stay up, stay positive. And this is what I see a lot of people do at majors, which is a mistake to me, is that it's a 12-stage match for us usually. I don't know how many you guys normally shoot in IPSC, but for a 12-stage match, and it'll be stage 2 of the day, and they have a bad stage, and it's just over for them mentally. And I'm like, well, look, I get it, but it's stage 2. It's okay. You still have so many to go, right? So like, let's stay focused, let's stay positive, and it is what it is. And you know, if you need to take a minute because you had a bad stage, I'd say that I think you need to just say it is what it is. And as soon as I have a bad stage, the first thing I'm thinking about is the next stage. That's
exactly.
I'm like,
I was just going to say that.
If I blew this one, I can, you know, it is what it is. Somebody else is going to have, not everybody's going to shoot a perfect stage every time, right? So like somebody else is going to blow something else somewhere too. So I'm just focused on now I'm going to do the best I can on the next stage and do the best I can on every stage I have after that. And if you blow another stage, say you blow 2 in a row, well, what's the next thing that you can do is go shoot the next stage after that, even better, right? So like you always got to be thinking about the next stage, even when you have a good stage, because you don't want to get too high on yourself either, right? So I mean, you say, oh my God, that was so great. All of a sudden, you know, now you're on cloud 9 and you step up and then you blow one and now you're super deflated. You got to stay on a kind of an even keel. And in my mind, I like to lean towards let's stay positive and everything is going to be just fine. I mean, until you're on stage 11 and 12 and you've blown 10 of them, I'd say then maybe it'd be okay to be a little depressed, but past that.
When I was in Australia, there was a female junior shooter who hit a couple of no shoots on a stage and she just burst into tears after the unload and show clear. And she was taking my class there. So I was her coach and she was on my squad. So I led her over to the next stage and I said, I'm sorry that happened. That sucked. I want you to take a deep breath, let it out, let it go. Now take a look at this. This is what's next. Tell me your plan. And as she was talking, she started calming down and started focusing on what was next. She burned that stage to the ground.
Right.
She did awesome.
Right. I mean, look, it is what it is. It's like golf. Do you think that they play 18 perfect holes? No, you're going to shoot 12 perfect stages every time. Do you think Max Michel or JJ shoot 12 perfect stages at every single match? I don't think that they're perfect. I think that if you ask them, they'd go back and say, I could have done this, and this better. So,
and if you don't have a single mic in, let's say you're shooting a 3-day major match, if you don't have one single mic, you're probably not trying hard enough.
I agree with that. Unless I have seen this at a match where the most accurate wins the gun. So somebody will literally take 1,200 seconds to shoot all alpha so they can win that gun.
Sometimes
it's really funny. It could be.
You get to win a gun? That's cool.
Yeah. So the most accurate. So people will literally, they don't care about what your score is as well. Whoever has the most alpha. So somebody will.
That's like an IDPA thing.
Forever. Yeah. Yeah.
So another thing that Super Squad has to contend with is that people are coming up to them wanting selfies, wanting autographs, wanting to video their runs, people coming up and talking to them all through the entire match. And
I've never had that. I'm not famous enough.
I am that guy. Okay. And I've done it last year national. So I go up, you know, Josh is there, Lena is there, Zach Smith is on the squad, Jack Wins is on the squad. Like, there a lot of good shooters. And I mean, like I've met Josh before and stuff, but I mean, they're all super nice people. And I mean, like, you know what you're stepping up to when you're stepping up to the people that are the top in the game, and they're, you know, that you don't want to bother them, but you stand back. But I mean, at the end of the day, Josh looks around and he goes, I'm standing there. He's like, hey, Mike, can you video this for me? Like, yeah, no, like, I'm the perfect guy to video instead of having to ask one of them. You know what I'm saying? So like, yeah, no problem. So you kind of just stay out of the way and be respectful of what they're doing. But I mean, as long as they're not about to shoot or shooting, you know, I feel like the super squad people, and especially the professionals, are all really, really nice. And, you know, they're more than willing to talk to you, but, you know, just obviously use common sense. Don't talk to them when they look like they're about to do something important. So,
and they're also sponsored shooters, so they're representing all the companies that are sponsoring them. They want to make sure that you feel welcome. So if you come up to them and try and talk to them, it's hard for them to say no, even if they know they need to be resetting the targets right now. They're going to take that time out of their match for you if you come up to them, because that's part of their job, is customer service.
It is. And, you know, I don't know. I feel like even if it's forced and then they have to take the time out of their job, I feel like a lot of them really don't mind it, as long as you're doing it at the right time.
Yeah, they enjoy the people.
Yeah, just like coming on this podcast, I could sit here for hours and talk about shooting because I love shooting. Just, I think they love talking about guns and they love talking about shooting because that's what they love to do too. That's why they are where they are. So, you know, if you can connect with them on that level and try not to be a pest, you know, don't be just following them around the entire time and saying, hey, you know, like, you don't want, but, you know, if you're sitting there and you see them shooting on stage, yeah, right. Like they'll talk to you, you know, as long as they don't see you again on the next stage, and they're going to think you're a little bit weird. So.
Yeah. So keep that in mind when you hear people ragging on the super squad for not resetting so much. There's just so much more going on for these guys, and you need to be a little bit empathetic to that.
Right.
Look at my list. Ladies using the bathroom.
This is all you.
This is all me.
No comment.
So just so you guys know, I'm sure most of you do, it takes us a little longer to use the bathroom. It may or may not be a pet peeve to you guys. I don't know. I try to drink like body armor or something, and not just water that's going to go straight through me, because we have to get completely undressed and dressed again. And who knows where the nearest outhouse is. We can't just go pee in the berm in the next bay. So it does take us a little longer. We try to plan for that, but, you know, sometimes it happens when it happens and we end up late for stage briefings and things like that. Just keep that in mind. We're doing the best we can.
I've never had an issue with ladies in the bathroom. Never been like, oh my God, where is she at? She's up. And if that happens, normally we would just say, hey, she'll shoot last now. So it doesn't matter. Like, we'll just keep going, and then whatever. When she comes back, she comes back. As long as you're not back past when we're done shooting, then it might be a little annoying. But you know, it is what it is. I think people are willing to work with you. We all have to go to the bathroom, so we all understand.
Yeah, and I would even say, don't hold up the stage briefing for me. Just go. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I think
I think
you have to tell them that.
Accommodating.
Right, you tell them that, but I think at a major, they still will read it to you when you come back. Like, I don't think, even if you say hey, that, but they'll be like, all right, come over here, and they'll read it to you. But again, I don't think it is what it is. If you had to go, you had to go.
Right. All right. So you talked a little bit about being DQ'd and not approaching that person. I think the same thing goes for if someone bombs a stage. You know how
at a local, that's when you ride them. You ride, if they're your buddies, that's when you ride them, because you try. Well, yeah. You know, at a major, that's how you're going to build them up stronger mentally, is when you're on them when they're blowing a stage. Because now if they blow a stage at a major, it's not really that big of a deal if you're not riding them. You know, so
usually at a local match it's different, but at a major you're not going to see guys laughing or going ooh.
No, I agree.
Instead, everyone just gets dead quiet, turns around and walks away. I got some mags to load or something.
Right. That's how you know if you shot a good stage. If you shot a good stage and everyone's like, hey, you know, give me a pound saying good job, you know, if you turn around and nobody wants to talk to you, you probably didn't, that didn't look so good from their perspective. So
in IPSC, they do the golf clap. Did you notice that in Aruba?
Yeah, I like it.
Did you get your first golf clap?
Yeah. You know, I love those people in Aruba. I thought that match was great. And we could talk about a whole podcast just about that. I mean, I hope that we go back there next year. So
yeah, they have one in the Caribbean next year. Is it Caribbean or Caribbean? I don't know.
Tomato, but I don't know if they let PCCs in the I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. So the Caribbean, I think I'm going to pick that side.
Or the
so
Caribbean, I don't know.
So, but I heard that I don't think they let PCC.
He also says tomato.
Yeah, no, I say tomato, but you know what I'm saying.
All right, what about resetting if you're DQ'd? What's your take on that?
Okay, well, I was recently DQ'd at PCC Nationals. I could talk. So one of the things is, okay, first of all, you can get DQ'd. I don't want to like cause a scene because you are representing sponsors, and I don't want to be associated with those guys that fight and shout and swear at ROs. You know, I might disagree with it, but there's not much I can do. And I think as a competitor, you're allowed to disagree with being DQ'd, regardless of whether it was right or wrong. But yeah, I stayed to reset because I am representing my sponsors, and it is a sportsman thing to do. And besides, it's not like I had anything to do that day. I had set the entire day aside for the match. So I was there, I was going to be there. I traveled far, you know, I'm going to also be there and support my fellow competitors and the other guys that are on my team, other guys that are sponsored by the people that sponsor me, to make them, you know, at least have a better match so that they don't have to run out and pace or pick up brass or pick up mags or anything. So I want to be there for them if I cannot shoot and be part of the team.
I'm with you on that. I would stay and pace, reset, run the timer, whatever they need. I would even run out and get them some food.
Yeah, no, I would have to say I'm the opposite. So the MD at our one indoor match, one of the things he says, if you are DQ'd for the match, you have the option of pacing or scoring for the rest of the evening. But he'd be the first person to tell you that if I got DQ'd, that he would just rather me go home. So I don't know. If I get DQ'd, usually it's not, I feel bad. I just compromised everybody's safety because usually a DQ is something that's not, you know, like, oh, it was like, oh, no big deal. You know what I'm saying? And then I don't know. I don't want to bring the squad down because all I'm going to be thinking about on the entire ride home is that DQ. So for me,
all day long, you're going to hear about it.
And all day long. Well, that doesn't bother. I mean, I feel like if you get DQ'd, you deserve, or you should expect to hear that a little bit, right? I mean, you know, something happened. I mean, even if it was okay, but you know, that's what friends are for. So, but yeah, I mean, I could tell everybody that if I'm getting DQ'd, usually I'm going home, but I'm going to say you probably would rather have it that way. So I know I'm representing sponsors and stuff like that, but just not a good day for me after that point.
It's a personal decision.
Yeah.
As long as you thank your squad mates and wish them luck before you take off, I think that's totally fine.
No. If there's 5 people or 6 people on your squad, I am not going to leave. But I mean, if there's 12, 13 people and I just got DQ'd, now there's 11 or 10. I mean, what?
Right.
Have a good day, guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just not, it is what it is. So
yeah,
I guess I'm not very sportsmanlike, but I don't know.
Well, no, if someone else got DQ'd, I would never expect them to stay or anything. Like, that's not an expectation, but just for my personal thing, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, now I do feel bad for the guys that come with the group and one of the group gets DQ'd and now they're stuck at the match because they have no choice whether they want to leave or not. They're sitting there. So that's why I always travel alone.
Sit in the van and turn the music on and just
yeah. So that's why people have asked me to carpool the matches before, and I would much rather have, I don't know, I don't mind driving 10 hours by myself, but some people would rather have a partner with that. But I feel like if something goes wrong, or God forbid that the person I came with got DQ'd and he did not feel like being there, and I would feel terrible, you know, all I'd be thinking about is now I just want to get this guy home, which I've actually done before. One of the guy that actually got me into this game, okay, we went to his first ever USPSA major, which was at Delmarva in 2019, and he ended up getting DQ'd on like stage 10. And my gun had on the same stage, which is very coincidental, but on the same stage, my trigger had broke. So we had 2 stages left, and I'm like, my buddy's sitting there like, whatever. We ended up just going home. It was pouring rain outside. I didn't feel like staying. So I felt really bad. And after that, I was like, I'm just going to go by myself, because not that it affected my match. I felt really bad that my buddy got DQ'd. And then it kind of killed it for me that now he had to sit here, because I knew that he did not want to stay. Like, he wanted to go home. It was raining on us. So I feel like I travel by myself just for that reason. So, yeah.
So what about those people who argue for doubles on every target? Arguing for a double on...
I do. I do. Hey, look,
No, Mike.
Look, I'm not arguing for a double. I'm going to call for an overlay. If I legitimately think that it looks like a double, okay? Not on every single one, right? But at the end of the day, it states in the rules as a shooter, and I'm always a shooter first before I'm like an RO or anything like that, that I have the option for you to call. And that's what every good RO or every good RM that I've ever talked to, that's what they say. Like, look, it's your option as a shooter. You can call for it if you want, but you don't have, you might not like the answer I'm going to give you, but I can definitely put it over. I mean, as a shooter, I feel like if you think it's a double, call for it. I mean, even if you have the slightest inkling that it is a double, you call for an overlay. And then if you still don't, if the guy looks at it for half a second and says nope, then can you call the RM? Because then at that point, that's who's really going to come over and take a serious look at it, right? But I mean, if it's a perfect circle and it's not a darker grease ring than every other hole that you have or anything like that, it's not really worth the time. But at the end of the day, as a competitor, if you have any inkling, you should always be calling for that overlay. And that's just my
But the problem is those shooters shoot alpha deltas on everything. And now that one target that's 20 or 25 yards away that they shot at a .18 split, now that's a double. And it's every single stage.
It's possible. And look, it's all based on visual evidence. And if it looks like a double, I mean, everybody's a competitor, right? I mean, you're telling me that you wouldn't want the call that, like you saw your dot on it twice, right? Or in your case, you saw your irons on it twice perfectly, and it looks like a perfect. I mean, wouldn't you want that call? You're like, I'm 99% sure I didn't miss
every single stage, like one target every single stage. It just slows the match down.
Well, then, I agree with that. But that's why I say
you have to be honest with yourself, though.
Right.
Yeah.
It has to be like a legitimate looking double, not the same similar grease ring and everything else in a perfect circle, But I mean, hey, I'm
like we joke and say,
hit.
oh, Alpha Mike, but it's like, oh, it's a double from the back corner there.
I always say that. I say that from the back line all the time. Yeah. Like, it's a double. Where's the overlay?
But as the competitor, what you saw.
No doubt.
And whether or not it's worth even asking.
That goes back to level ones and majors. At majors, at level ones, I could care less. If you're going to make a call, it is what it is. The score to me at a level one doesn't matter. But at a major, yeah, I'm known around Area 8 in our area to be a little bit argumentative when it comes to the rules, just because I'm trying to use the rules to my advantage, and if I can call for it and argue for it the best I can and get the call, that's what I'm going to do. So
no, where I do argue is if it cuts the line for the alpha, or if it's into the no shoot and it's cutting the line, then yeah, I will try argue that.
And that one, you got to know how to measure that one. Okay. So like, I've seen the video on nroi.com or with Troy where he does that, and you'll find, and this is where, again, if you call for it and you see the RO do it wrong, that's where you call for the RM. Like, you got to know what the rules are, and how you do that is you actually got to cover the perf with the
flat edge.
Yeah, so it's not, some ROs will go up to the right. Like, if you're trying to go from the Charlie to the alpha zone, some will come up to the perf on the right side, but they won't actually go over the perf. And then when they put their circle on it, it's obviously not going to touch the plastic card, but you have to go over the perf and actually cover like the alpha side of that line perfectly, and then you can see if it works. So like, there's a lot of little things that happen like that some ROs just don't really know.
Yeah,
and then if you know what you're doing, you get that call. You know what I'm so like, hey, no, you're not doing that right. I'll call for the RM, but you're not. And then the R comes over and he knows what the rule is, and then he does it, and then you get the hit. I mean, you're a competitor. Everybody's there is to be a shooter. And now that I'm a new RO, I would never, especially being me, I don't think I have any room to talk to anybody that would ever argue a call or argue for an overlay or anything like that, no matter how obvious it might look to me. So like, I will gladly pull out that card and do whatever I can, because I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it says in the rules. That's your job. If I call for it, you're supposed to do it. So
yeah, the problem with arguing all the time is when it is actually a legitimate double, because you've cried wolf, for the past 4 stages. Now it's met with more suspicion.
Agreed. And that's why you save them, only really call for it if you think that you're right. It's not something that you call on something that is probably not a double, right?
Well, I recently argued for a reshoot because someone pasted the target before it was scored, and I knew it 100%, 110%. I knew I had 2 alphas on that target. And I asked around, did somebody paste this target? No, nobody wants to admit to it. So I went to the range officer and asked him, we had people there resetting. I asked him if I could ask the paster what order he pasted the targets in. And he said, yeah. So I went and asked him, and the order he gave me was the wrong order, definitely pre-pasted it. So then I got the reshoot. So
good
if you know 110%, you got to fight for it. And as a female, I feel like we get ragged on a little more for that, because if you're a girl and you're doing it, you're the B word. If you're a guy and you're doing it, you're a competitor.
I've been called an asshole a couple times, so whatever. I'm there to compete. I don't blame anybody. It's just a mindset. I don't know. Like, I don't mind when people are calling for stuff like that. I don't think that you're a B word at all. Like, you know what I'm saying? I think that you're just trying to do what you got to do, and I would make the same call. So what's the problem with that? I don't know. You do what you got to do, and if they have a problem with it at the end of the day, I don't think you're asking. As long as you're being nice about it, as long as you're not being a jerk, like, you're definitely wrong. That's a double. You're the worst RO I've ever seen in my life. You know, like you don't got to be like that about it. Be like, I don't agree. I don't agree. You know, like, can you put an overlay on it? And if they do the overlay and you watch them do it and you don't like it, and be like, it's nothing against you personally. I just don't really agree with the way you did the overlay either. Can you please call the RM? I mean, if you're nice about it, it is what it is. I mean, everybody just be respectful. You know, I mean, yeah, we're all in the heat of the moment, and like, if it's a big match and you want that hit, you know what I'm saying? You might get a little.
And we're all competitive.
Yeah, we're all competitive, and the ROs are too. The ROs usually are shooting the match also, so they all understand. But I mean, there's always a line there where you want to just don't get to that next level where you're like getting over the top. I mean, everybody's going to disagree. Everybody has their opinion, but don't be a jerk about it. So
all right, we got 8 minutes left here.
Oh boy, only 8 minutes.
So what about unsolicited advice?
Mike, you go on this one first.
I always give unsolicited advice to everybody. I cannot keep my mouth shut. Whatever comes in my head comes out of my mouth. So like, the problem with that is, like, sometimes, like, I shoot with a couple guys that are really into the rules, and like, like, if you say something like, oh, well, I didn't shoot that target specifically because I heard you say something in the back about that's what I was missing, so I just stopped. Like, I'm sorry about that, dude. I didn't mean it. Like, I just see like, hey, you're missing, like, over there. Like, I don't know. And then unsolicited advice, like, I think that you should do this instead of this. I'm a pretty big offender with that, because I always think I have the best stage plan because I take Keita Boosie's class. That's why. So at the end of the day, I think my plan's the best, and I think you're going to be wrong. So now I've gotten to the point now where if I see somebody doing a walkthrough and I think they're wrong, I'm just like, I'm going to get you by 4 on that stage right there, just with that plan. And I just like to make them think about it a little bit at a local, you know what I'm saying? But at a major, no, I usually try to stick to my thing, and I don't really try to give unsolicited advice at majors. I try to just focus on my game. But at locals, absolutely, always.
You're a teacher. You're a teacher. That's what you do for a living. I'm a coach, so it just hurts my soul to keep my mouth shut, but I do, unless I see something that could potentially be a safety issue during the walkthrough, and I'll just pull them aside and say, hey, I noticed you had your hands pointed this way. Just watch out for that, because it's pretty close to the 180. Or if they're sweeping themselves, like opening a door and sweeping themselves in the walkthrough, then I'll pull them aside and say, hey, you might want to watch this and put the gun up higher so you don't sweep your hand.
Well, if anybody's going to complain about that as unsolicited advice, I'd say they were idiots and they shouldn't be there anyway, because that's just you looking out for their safety. That's not like, I would say unsolicited advice would be more like, they have a plan, like I usually do at locals, like, no, you're doing that wrong. You should do the plan this way. Like, I didn't ask you. But why are you asking? Why are you telling me what you should do? I didn't ask you. You know what I'm saying? So, unless somebody asks you what you think, it's different.
Then I love that.
Right.
I jump right in there. That's fun for me because I'm a coach and you're a teacher, so you probably feel the same way. But I keep my mouth shut unless it's a safety issue.
I will not.
But it does break my heart to do it.
I will not give anyone any advice at all, any competition, unless they come to me and ask me a question, because I just can't. Because first of all, unsolicited advice usually gets ignored. People don't necessarily take it in, even if it's good advice. We'll change in advice. That's my experience.
They're not in a place to hear it.
Yeah, and if it's unsolicited, they're not thinking about that, which is why they didn't ask. So you're all injecting something that they didn't even think to consider, and the mind just is gonna right out the other ear. And it does pain me, because there was this one shooter, this one match, and I'll never forget it. And they were shooting alpha delta on everything because their grip was wrong, and it was so blatantly, obviously wrong.
I would have to leave. I would have to leave. I'd be like, what are you doing, dude? I would be like, after the ones there, I'd be like,
I don't know
this
why
is
I'm
wrong.
shooting like this, and I'm just like, please, just ask me, just say how, just say something so that I can give you this advice, but I can't, because you haven't asked me, and it was just, yeah, it was painful, and they were so distraught, and it's like, I probably should have, but I couldn't bring myself to giving that unsolicited advice.
Now, if they're a brand new shooter, and I know they're a brand new shooter, I will go up to them before the match starts and say, if you have any questions, ask any one of us here. We've been shooting for a while and we can help you out.
They usually are all down for all the advice you can give them, especially if it's their first day there. They're like, oh my God, thank you for everything that you said. It was a lot.
Right.
But, yeah, going back to what Grant said, it made me think of a story. I was running a guy one time at a knockdown steel match, and Grant, I mean, I was seeing every one of his bullets hit low in the same spot on every single target. He was just going down the row and they were all hitting the stand low, low, low. And I'm watching, I'm just like, hit higher. Like, you got to aim up, like aim up. Like, it's like, we're 45 seconds into a stage. I mean, he was smoking it in the same spot. Like, if he just aimed above the target. After the stage gets over, he's like, hey, I appreciate it if you didn't talk in the middle of my stage I was getting. And I'm like, I was just so frustrated watching you hit the same 7-inch shot low every single time. I just was trying to help you. I'm sorry. Like, I thought you didn't know where your shots were. I mean, it was the same thing every time. Like, just aim higher. So some people don't want it, even if they're not doing well. Like, you think that you're doing a good thing, and it's just. But yeah, no, he did not want to hear it.
We got to wrap this up. It's about to cut off on us. Please like and subscribe if you're enjoying these chats, and we will see you next Saturday, hopefully.
Yeah.
Right. Well, thanks for having like and subscribe, and we'll chat to you guys soon.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
All right, guys. This has been awesome and fun. Ciao.